thing. You know, like it could
it's
be
a terrible thing.
It's a
tragic
good,
thing.
it's a
but
good
it's also
thing
a
and
good
a bad
thing.
thing.
Yeah, it's tragic, but he was
that.
at the point
But
of
that
life.
shows how the difference that someone that decides to just let me get a little involved, see what I can do, can make. And
what city was that near?
Stockton.
Oh, yeah.
I was in
Stockton's kind of rough. Yeah.
Yeah. It was. I lived in Dublin, drove down to Stockton, for that.
Well, we were talking about mentioning Jordan Peterson earlier, and this is one thing that I have really tried to take to heart about his message is not just rights that we should be looking at, but we should be looking at what are our responsibilities as a culture. Instead of focusing, I'm trying to articulate what he said better, but it's responsibility as well as rights. We're focused on everyone. We should have our rights.
Yeah,
Bill of Rights, the whole thing. It's great, but we also have a responsibility in the culture to
that's good. I've never heard that, but that's good.
And maybe we shouldn't focus so hard on just rights. Like those are good.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that was something new for me. That was just, I'm gonna be using that.
That's good. I want to take that too.
Yeah.
How much better would it be if we just started focusing on solutions? And you're right, our responsibilities. How much better would that be if we focused on those things instead of I got my rights, I know what my rights are. Yeah.
We should say, look, we're the luckiest motherfuckers in all of time.
Couldn't agree more.
Let's do something with it. Like,
couldn't agree more.
Let's quit bitching about stuff.
We're
having good.
Arguing with strangers on the internet all day. Yeah. No, I know. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Cool. Good. Well, I think we have logged quite a bit of time. I don't want to take up all your time today.
Man, I've enjoyed it. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate the conversation. I know Jahai, every time we meet, we just get into it right away.
I know.
Boom, 2 hours pass. We're solving the world's problems.
Yeah.
Eric, man, it's great meeting you as well. It's an awesome facility you have here. This, I don't know if you're getting plugged for this Little Rock Lost 40 brewing company.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Let's give them a little plug.
That's a great brew.
And we'll probably have you on in the future, man.
Yeah,
because like you said, every time we get together, it's super easy to just jump off into stuff. So it's not like we've exhausted by any means all the stuff.
Get into it.
It's all we got to do is sit down and riff for a while.
Yeah.
People aren't ready for an 8-hour podcast.
Go full Alex Jones.
Yeah.
We're gonna start small, just 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah. We won't pull out the conspiracy theories until like 3 episodes in. Then we'll start talking about aliens.
I mean, just on the way out, I've been digging all day on your incremental lottery mentality.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah, I was telling Lauren about that on the way out of here. I was like, because that's a good philosophy to have, and that's the way I try to live my life. But if you can remind yourself of that every day, if you want to hit it just real quick, I think it's brilliant.
Fill me in.
So the idea of incrementally winning the lottery is a couple different ideas. First off is get yourself in the mentality of what if you won the lottery, right? And you can pick a number. So if you drive by the lottery on your way out, right, and you see the lottery's $441 million, and you can get really specific with what would you do with that money. So what would you do with $441 million?
A couple of G5s.
Right.
Helicopter.
I don't even know what that is.
I start running out of stuff. An airplane, an island, and then what else do you do? I don't know.
So you go bit by bit, right? And you start actually crossing off the list of what you would do and which of your worries in life would go away,
right?
And what you could do to change your life. And the exercise only works if you actually take the time to go through it and emotionally experience. Sure. Who could you help in your immediate family? Which of your worries that you spend your time on each day thinking about would now just float off into the distance because you've won the lottery. And so the first realization is this, that feeling of kind of peace and rest that you have right now was always available to you regardless. Like, you don't need the actual money.
You almost had that same feeling of after buying like your car as you would with a airplane or helicopter.
Sure.
Yeah.
After a couple of days, it's just like
or cold beer.
Now
Yeah.
I
You know
have.
what I mean? You can break that down low.
So you have,
It's always best
you have
when you don't have it.
Yeah. So now you've been denying yourself that peace that you now feel by saying I have to have hundreds of millions of dollars before I can have the peace of not worrying about medical bills leveling me or my family being safe. Your family's safe right now.
Right.
You're okay. Nothing is hurting you right now. You're fine. You know, that's it's a Stoic quote from Seneca that I can't remember right now, but that peace is available to you in this moment. Okay. But like I said, that part of the exercise doesn't work unless you go through it piece by piece and then have the realization that this feeling that I've created of what it would feel like to be like that it was always available to me. Okay.
Well, my favorite part of it was when you were saying, what would I do if I had $1 million? What would my day look like? I get up and have
so then I'm getting there.
Okay.
Sorry. So then the second piece is this. So then, now that I have all this money, what would I actually spend my time doing? Okay, so I don't have to do anything. I'm not beholden to anyone. So what would I actually spend my day when I wake up? What would my day look like? And so I did this a number of years ago. I did this, and so I said,
You won the lottery?
No.
And did nothing?
No, I did the other part. I said, so what would I do if I had all this money? I would wake up, and from the get-go, what would I do? I would do a little workout to warm up and wake up in the morning because I feel kind of stiff in the morning.
After your massage,
and then I would have some coffee because I like coffee, right? So even though I won the lottery, I would still have coffee, right? And then I would do some reading because I like reading. I like reading books. And then throughout the day, I would interact with my family some. I like hanging out with my family. I have good times with my family. At some point in the day, I would do some jiu-jitsu. I love jiu-jitsu. I always have. I would have some good food whenever I could. In the evening time, I would have some beer. I'd have a couple beers.
Damn right.
Actually, and I would do some jiu-jitsu. Did I mention jiu-jitsu already?
Yeah.
So beer, jiu-jitsu.
And then some more beer, maybe.
Yeah, beer,
Perhaps.
jiu-jitsu, beer.
Perhaps a
Like,
cigar,
how many
anything.
repetitions are we going to do this? Then I'd maybe take a nice warm shower, hang out with my family again, right? And then another thing that's not immediately accessible to me right now, I'd probably travel more, right? So I would travel a lot. So then the point of that is I lay out what I would be doing if I won all that lottery money. And then where the phrase incrementally winning the lottery comes from is I'm going to do as much of that as I can right now. I don't have to wait on winning the lottery. A lot of those things that I already love that I would do with the lottery money, once I was free to do whatever I wanted, I can do right now. That was actually one of the things a few years ago when this happened. It was before I started teaching for a living, where I was like, well, what's all that reading? And that's what teaching is reading about stuff you're interested in and then talking about it. That's what I do for a living right now. I read about stuff that I'm interested in, and then I talk to other people about it. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And I do jiu-jitsu. And I have a couple beers. And what do I do in the morning? I drink coffee. And
have some good food from time to time.
And I have some good food from time to time. And sometimes I have a workout whenever I'm feeling kind of sore and have a workout. Try to work it out. And I spend some time with my family.
That's about as good as it gets, really.
That's my point. That's my point.
Yeah. You already won the lottery.
That's right.
Yes, that's right.
What else could you do? Yeah. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
There's nothing else.
That's it. I feel
that's
the
the whole
same
point.
way. Yeah.
That's the whole point.
I was digging on that, man. I was thinking about that after we parted ways. It's good.
I talk to people lots of times about travel. I've done a lot of traveling and started when I was 20 or 21. The first trip that I ever went on cost, the plane ticket, which was just a, $400 or $500 ticket. This probably wasn't the smartest thing, but I went to Europe when I was 21. I had a train ticket that got me around wherever I wanted to go, so I had prepaid for a Eurail pass and $400 and no credit card.
Wow. How long did you make that last?
Until the last 2 or 3 days. I was looking forward to getting on the airplane so I could get fed.
Right.
But I had the best time of my life. I mean, up to that point. And it inspired me for so many other things. And I just.
It's important to travel, man.
It taught me, well, and it is. And it taught me that I don't have to have $1 million to go experience things that I want to experience. And if I were able to stay in the Four Seasons, it wouldn't have been as cool as staying in the hostels that I stayed in and meeting cool people.
We were
talking about hostels last night.
Yeah, I hitchhiked and
when I was a major in the Army,
cool
living
stuff.
in Germany, I was there by myself. This was a couple of years ago. But I would travel, and I had the money to stay at the Four Seasons, right? You know, I'm doing all right. But I chose to stay in hostels because of the energy, you know, and the interaction. And it's not compartmentalized like a hotel.
You're with the people on the street.
That's who you want to meet. That's why you're doing it.
Yeah. If you stay at the Four Seasons, you're going to be interacting with a bunch of people that are basically just like you. And you're not
going to be interacting, right?
Exactly. They're too busy eating their caviar or something. And it's weird to look in, you know, someone else's direction in a fancy place like that sometimes.
Totally.
What's more interesting is like interacting, talking, seeing the different culture that you're in that you're not accustomed to.
Yeah.
And you can learn something from it.
I think something we touched on a second ago that Eric and I have talked about, because we were both into music early in life, so we kind of had rock stars as a thing to think about, right? And that is that we learned early on so we both liked the Beatles a lot. And I think when you look to, if you have a little bit of intelligence, you can extrapolate. If you look at people who get really famous, that's not where it's at. And honestly, some of those people, you can almost feel sorry for them because they didn't figure out what we just talked about a second ago. And that is that the things that we were just saying, that really is where it's at. And if you think that it's somewhere else and you miss, someone that I read the other day was talking about if you wanted to make it this juxtaposition, if you develop that outer shell, like Getting Rich and Famous, without developing the internal part, right? If you wanted to phrase it that way.
Yeah.
What a disservice.
Yeah.
That's how people get really rich and then are suicidal.
Right.
They're miserable.
That's why I feel
because
like
it just sucks.
Yeah, I feel like it's important to have a spectrum, or to see the spectrum of the way that people live in the world that we exist in. Mm-hmm. And I think that helps to balance your way of looking at the world too, and where you are in that hierarchy of everything, because you see how a lot of other people live, and you expose yourself to some difficulties as well.
Right.
And then you have your spectrum is wider, and you can see where it is that you lie on that spectrum, and usually it's pretty sweet.
Absolutely.
Right in the middle.
Luckiest man in the world.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. That's what we were talking about.
But if you don't have that, if you don't expose yourself to those things, then you might be caught in the mindset of, oh, woe is me, because you don't know that the rest of the fucking world is, you know,
that's how you have
like this.
Not like what you're living.
Yeah.
That's how you have the ability to sit on a couch in the air conditioning and feel sorry for yourself. Like,
yeah,
what
you can't
what
have
an
that
asinine
you've
thing.
Seen
like
some things that are not ideal in the world, and when you see you're not on, that you are on like a silk pillow.
Yeah.
Even in the worst case scenario, almost in the United States.
I've been in this position and made this comment 50 times. I'll be sitting with a group of people and they really start hammering on the current state of America and how bad things suck. And typically it's while we're having a nice steak and some beers, or we're sitting out around a nice fire by a creek, or we're got a beautiful view from somebody's nice house, and I'm like, is it really that bad, fellas?
Yeah.
When did it get bad? When did it start getting bad?
Right.
How can we be sitting around like this bitching at the same time?
Yeah.
That's tough.
Well, I think we could talk about how awesome this is for a while. I'd rather talk about that.
Yeah. Sometimes if I have that kind of conversation, the point that I'll make is like, so if you hear a plane go overhead right now, what are the chances that it's an enemy?
Yeah.
What are the chances?
Yeah.
Basically nothing. You got nothing to worry about, man. You know how many people in the world are worried about an enemy?
What's coming out of that wood line?
You're not even worried about an enemy, dude. You're in the middle of America.
Yeah.
Like, you got nothing, almost nothing to worry about.
Yeah, the Spartans had a famous saying where they would say, our women haven't seen the fires of the enemies, the light of our enemies' campfires in 400 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be so important if more Americans realize how important that is. Like you're saying, man, not many countries can go back. I mean, you look at what's going on in Africa, you look at what's going on in the Eastern Bloc, you look at what's going on in Korea. I mean, not many people can say that.
That's right.
We're
I think
able
about
to
that.
have these luxuries of feeling, we don't have every particular thing 100% like we like it. The only way we're able to feel that way in the first place is that we're so secure.
Totally.
I think about that with my children all the time,
we would not
because
be worried about that
your
thing.
children will tug at your heart like nothing else, right? But I think about that with my children all the time, because my children tug at my heart, but I still am like, you know what? The biggest thing I have to worry about with you is a weird disease or a car wreck, something like that. I don't have to worry about people with 50 cows mounted on the back of a Toyota truck
showing up on your.
Nobody's going to show up with AKs and take our property.
Totally.
I don't have to worry about that.
I had a neighbor in Hawaii, and he was a Sudanese gentleman, and I know we said we were wrapping this up.
I know. Then we took a dive.
But he was from the northern Sudan or the southern Sudan, and the northern Sudanese came in, and they was just rolling up in villages, like you're saying, man, with automatic weapons and just waxing everybody, right? So there's a good movie about it. But anyway, it ended up with this pack of, I don't know, let's say 40,000 boys. And I don't think that's. I think it was actually more than that. But they're moving to Ethiopia, right? They're in this pack, and at night, they would be laying in a pile, and like hyenas would come up and grab a kid and drag him away and like eating within arm's reach. But what are they going to do, right?
Right.
So then they make it to Ethiopia, and they're hanging out there in a refugee camp, and then Ethiopia breaks out in a civil war, so they got to move again. But some of them were brought to America, but this guy was the happiest man in Hawaii. God, he was happy. You know what I mean? And he was just so confused about Americans' discontent. He was just like, you haven't seen it, right?
What are you complaining about?
You haven't seen it.
Yep.
You haven't seen the dragon, man.
Yeah. His brain's in a totally different place.
He's the happiest man in the world.
And you're wanting, and we as Americans are wanting this to change.
Yeah.
Seriously?
It's crazy.
Just be a good person, man.
Right.
Once you start being a good person.
Right. Just chill.
Start with yourself.
Yep.
Be the change.
For sure. All right, man.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Let's cut it off right there, and we will